Hello and welcome to Oz by Drone. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Greg, and our regular co-host John is on leave for one more week this week. He'll be back with us again next week. And this is our summer edition where we don't have any scripted, planned out show. This is just a fireside chat, as they say. We're going to have a chat to you. You're welcome to come in. In fact, you're welcome to be on screen at any time. There's a link in the description for the YouTube video if you'd like to come on screen and join in the fun. But before we get anyone else on screen, let's get our fill-in comedic relief on screen, and that being Lloyd. Come in, Lloyd.
Howdy, I'm here. I'm live. I'm breathing,
Well, that's half of the problem, You've just got to keep the rest of it happening. What's between the years?
Exactly. Sorry, I had to move that light back because I have to move the light to get around it because the doorway, the light, and my belly all kind of collide. So I have to move the light out of the way to get to it and then come back. So,
yeah.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing. Before we get into anything else, for those who are regulars on our show will know that Lloyd has, his wife has been a little bit unwell. Just let's do a quick little status check on Judy.
She's getting better. We did her evaluation for her speech therapy this week, and she'll be going to speech therapy 1 day a week because, they only have the therapist in 1 day a week,
Okay.
But she's doing better. Her sentence structures are getting back to when she's not, like last night, she was completely wiped, and took me forever to figure out a couple of things that she was saying. But she's, the stroke just affected the language part of her, and so when she gets tired, it just doesn't function. But she's getting better,
So the therapy overall, the goal is to get rid of the peach impediment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the peach impediment. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it was interesting to watch the test and see what was really, stuff I just didn't notice that you see when they do the testing. And you're like, oh, I hadn't even noticed that. But, a couple of the tests she actually changed. She followed the letter of the law when it came to certain tests, but she changed it so that she won. It's basically she
Rewrite the rule book and you'll pass the test.
Yeah, and that's what she did. She rewrote a few of the rules. So, but yeah, she's and she wanted me to tell you, and she says, tell Greg's wife I said hi, and those are her words. She says, and I said it right this time.
Fair enough.
So
have we got anyone else hiding in the background yet?
Not yet. I'm still waiting. Okay. Keep an eye on it.
Okay. So before we do anything, I just thought I'd share. This little beastie came in the mail for me this week. I mentioned it last week. It's about $15 for a HDMI video capture. I haven't yet had a chance to play around with it. But this is the really expensive one from Elgato.
Elgato, yeah.
And the reason for changing a couple of things. By the way, that music's pretty loud, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's Dirty Dancing. I have to keep the monitor up enough to where I can hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's watching a show in there, and
okay,
she has to keep the TV up good enough for her to hear. So
yeah. Really briefly, so I paid for this one a long time ago. It's a 4K HDMI to USB converter, and it's a bit temperamental, which is why I'm not using it as much as I would otherwise use it. It also gets very hot, and it also causes, for some unknown reason, the CPU on the computer that's ingesting the video to get really high as well. So I haven't yet had a chance to use this one, but I put a link in the YouTube video description for anyone who wants to do any streaming and gaming and what have you. It's a new one that I found for only about $15. I mentioned it before, so I thought I'd share that update. So that's the first thing this week. I've been doing more server upgradey kind of things. I've been doing this for a while now. For those who don't know, I do IT stuff for my own hobby business, you might call it, whatever you want to call it. So I've been doing that throughout the week, and that's taken up a fair bit of time. But those things, other than that, drones and drone news. So we've got our regular news feed, and during the regular show, I've mentioned this before, we have a lot more produced show. This is just a relaxed kind of thing. So let me now switch over to the things that are coming into the drone news feed this week. And the first one is actually a really relevant story. This one relates to Australia. So this one talks about a photography drone crashing into a Sydney high-rise building. And this has only been released, what was the date on the story? 28th of January, so very new.
Yeah.
But what do we have here? DJI Inspire 2 drone is being used on a commercial photography job, crashed into a high-rise in Sydney during injuring an occupant. The drone pilot reportedly lost control of the drone after sending it up approximately 10 metres. So it's not very high at this point. Very, very low off the ground. We go on, read on. The incident took place on the 15th of January around lunchtime, taking photos in the Darling Harbour area of Sydney. Now, the pilot reportedly lost control of the drone, which then flew sideways directly into the high-rise building, impacting the building at high speed. Drone shattered the glass, which resulted in an occupant sustaining minor injuries from the shattered glass. We've got the name of the company there, Sky Monkey. They're a certified drone operator. Kelvin Ong refused to comment on the incident, but told the Australian that he is working with the ATSB, and the ATSB said they're going to interview the pilot, have a look at the flight controller data, review procedures, etc. Now,
got a question about that story, because I thought I heard you say it, so I went and I started reading it over here. The drone crashed into the side of a building, and one of the occupants got hurt. Now, that's only Inspire. I did not know they were carrying passengers now.
The occupant of the building.
But it doesn't say that. See, that's the kind of thing that gets people like me, old folks, confused.
Well, you don't need much help for that. But anyway, moving on. The investigation will conclude in Q3. DJI are going to send some flight logs, and then it goes on to talk about registration. But let's just have a quick chat about this in a bit more detail. So, point number one, it said the drone flew sideways into the building. So if you can imagine you've got a street front somewhere in Darling Harbour, you would therefore assume that the drone was at 90 degrees in terms of its intended direction of travel to the building, and it's somehow gone left or right. Okay, so that's the first thing we know. Second thing we know, an Inspire is not going to do that uncommanded unless it's got interference in GPS and or compass. So if we have a think about that for a minute, and I know this from personal experience, my car GPS loses track of where the hell it is when it's in the city all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you've got high-rise buildings, and this is in Darling Harbour, which is, a fairly densely populated part of Sydney, this relates to what we spoke about last week. This is just my opinion, first principles, investigation, is that the guy probably had his sticks holding still, number one. Number two, lost GPS and or compass. Number three, either due to wind or it trying to work out where it is and what it thinks is holding position, has then had the motors commanded to move.
Yeah.
Just a guess, but again, this speaks to what we've spoken about many times before. How many people practice flying in ATTI mode?
That's right. What do you do when you lose GPS? That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. So have you flown in any congested areas yourself?
No,
What's the most congested you've flown in?
well, it's not really congested, but I mean, it's across the street from my son's house, and there's an open soccer field there. You know, so I mean, yeah, there's power lines surrounding there, but you know, it's soccer field. You know, it's
Yeah.
nothing really congested. I don't fly in congested areas if I can keep from it. You know. And the only other place is up at my cabin, and it's wide open there too. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just having a look at the chat there. If anyone's got any comments on what they think went wrong, definitely put it in the chat, and we'll have a think about that together as a group. And again, if anyone wants to be on the show today, Lloyd, can you paste the link in? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Paste it in the chat. I'm seeing Drone Shots commenting, tell them about the OTG cables that hack your phone and PC. Trying to understand what you're talking about with that one. Maybe there's some story that I'm not aware of. Zeb Mead saying, nice pic of you on Ken's show last night. Yeah, I did send that to him. That was a photograph of a really, really big photo that I can't even illustrate how big it was, that my father took when I was a youngster, and had it blown up and printed out on a really big piece of wooden backed thingamajig. But anyway, hello EBR FPV and welcome to you. Let's see, we'll move on to our next story if we've got no comments or questions from our panel of experts in the audience today. So our next one, let's just go back over here. So this one is a video that's come on Drone DJ on their website, and this was just way too cool to not briefly comment on. Now, I won't bother playing the audio because it's got some music there and I don't want to get into trouble. But just commenting on this, that is way cool FPV experience going through a submarine. That is some pretty impressive piloting skills, and actually relates back to the first story. If you're in a submarine, you're not going to be able to use compass.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and having been through the batfish down here, like with Mel, that's some really, I don't know what size sub that was, but, you know, if it's like a World War II sub, those things are tight. And for him to be able, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, bump against, knock up against. So that took some flying skill, but to fly through that.
yeah, absolutely.
But you're right. You can't use compass when doing FPV flying. Well, with the goggles.
Well, it's not so much about FPV and the goggles, just the fact that you're surrounded by a big metal object that's going to make the compass not work.
Yeah, which begs the question: if the compass inside of that big metal tin can in your drone isn't going to work, how do they keep from getting lost? Because you would think the compass in the submarine wouldn't work either with all that metal surrounding it.
Good question, and maybe they've got something where it's a sensor on a stick or something outside the compass which has got a local display inside. I'm just kind of...
Just thought I'd ask, you know. I thought, well, you know, that's a...
And the second thing is you're talking magnetic compasses potentially versus a digital IMU, which is a lot more sensitive to other things as well. And Trevor's saying gyro compass, gyro, whatever. So they've worked it out, but it's just not appropriate for what you're going to put on board an aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay. Our third story of the day that we see here is this one. So Red Cat Holdings, Cypersonic, etc., after showing off the two companies' tech is capable, after showing off what the two companies' tech is capable of when combined, Fat Shark parent company, Red Cat, has signed a letter of intent to purchase Skypersonic. Let's have a look. What is Skypersonic? Have you heard of them before?
No, no.
Flying a drone from approximately 1,200 miles. Is that the company that they had recently where it was flying long distance? Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I do remember that now.
So this is Fat Shark basically saying, I think they're going to build into their goggles the ability to fly further than by radio, but kind of putting in a internet module, if you like, into the goggles to fly further away. And this is the video that we saw before.
Okay. All right. 1,200 miles, though? Isn't that? That's definitely even beyond line of sight. I don't think that's going to work. Well,
So
it's not going to
it
fly
would
with
need-
the
Well, two things.
FAA.
One,
Playing on words.
yeah. Firstly, that system, when they demoed it, they had a local pilot in command with the drone, but there was someone controlling it remotely, and if required, the pilot in command could take over. So that's the way they get around the FAA requirements at this time. But in the future, they'd be looking at how can we maybe put a geo-fenced situation in for the drone remotely, and allow the remote pilot to actually be the pilot in command. Maybe there's a way to do that. For example, if we're talking about security and surveillance, you put a geofence around a prison, for example, and you've got a third-party security company that's going and flying the drone, piloting the drone remotely without the need to have anyone on site at all. In a restricted flight scenario, that'd work.
Well, that's basically how the military does it now, to keep an eye on the bad guys over yonder without having to have boots on the ground. The only difference between that and the one the prisons would use one that have, I don't know, a 30 caliber projectile compared to a giant rocket launcher on the drones the military uses, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at what we've got next. So these stories, I only picked them very, very quickly this morning. And the next topic we've got is the infamous DJI FPV drone. And the commentary here on Drone DJ is that it won't be a racing drone, or will it be? Now, it's a shame I didn't talk to someone about this before today, because that certain someone has reportedly held some of this equipment in their hands. But let's have a quick look. Let's make that a bit bigger. Whoops.
That image looks like, you know, it looks like the of that drone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like drone porn, you know. Looks like it's doing something. It looks like a drone.
It's giving birth to something.
Yeah, well, it's doing something obscene to the Osmo Pocket 2. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
just
One look at the leaked
observation.
photos. It's not going to compete with the stripped down steroid fuel racing drones that can easily hit speeds of well over 100 miles per hour. But it doesn't mean that people won't want to race their drones. Yeah, I can see that. So if you compare that to the automobile market and the concept of stock racing, so you're racing identical drones between two different pilots, the same drone, comparing the skill rather than the technology, that's an interesting potential use of the technology. DJI
Trevor
Racing
said-
League instead.
Yeah, Trevor said the DJI released video this week showing their range, which had the FPV drone in it. Okay.
It's probably in one of the stories here. I haven't had a look at everything.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is just a fun look during the holiday silly season. This one I thought was quite cute. When I was looking before, we'll get rid of the advertising there. Harsha DNS turning a Mavic 2 Zoom into a fully automated drone-in-a-box solution. Let's have a quick zoom in on that.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I was just making, I still had you on full screen. Sorry, I forgot to do that earlier.
That's all right. Turning a commercial off-the-shelf drone into an autonomous drone-in-a-box solution.
Looks like a bingo tumbler.
It does. It does.
Or a rock tumbler. You know, you expect them to, like the lotto tumbler is round and round, and all of a sudden, out comes a drone. You win the lotto. That's a new way to give them away.
Let's see what we got here.
给大家介绍我们的新产品 DNest 以及我们的全球招商政策。好，第一个部分我们
Maybe we don't want to listen to all of that.
Yeah, because my Chinese isn't that well. But I'm sure we'll all be learning to speak it soon.
So he's showcasing the box there and the drone inside it, but is that going to require a human to go and open the lid, or is it going to do it
Well,
by
you would
itself?
think they would have it set up to automatically open.
I hope so. Otherwise, it's kind of
Redundant, yeah.
you don't actually see it opening up.
Yeah, I
And
know.
the ability to fly. Okay, drones can fly. Let's have a look at the landing, see what it does at the other end of its flight.
Well, it looks to be plugged in. It looks to have some sort of motor system, so...
Well, it's at least it's doing charging, right? So we know that it's going to do
Okay.
some sort of automated charging.
yeah.
What's happened there? Has that failed? You don't get to see.
Charge bar will
Change
lock,
bars
and
will lock and the drone canopy will close.
So, there you go. Yep, it looks like it's starting to close.
So there's the charge bars.
Yep.
Mr. Artco, you're
And
welcome to
there's the
jump in
lid.
should you wish to do so.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. That answers your questions.
Okay.
Now, it charges wirelessly, obvious. It charges wirelessly,
No,
obviously.
so they spoke about charge bars. So, and you can go back to a split screen if you want. If you can imagine, you've got two rails going this way, two rails going that way. I've seen that before on some other drones, and they've got charging connectors in there, which will connect to something on the drone's legs, which in turn connect into the battery charging port. How they do that, I'm not particularly familiar with, but
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because I'm thinking, because they're talking an off the shelf is what it's what the feature is, off the shelf. Drones.
well, the drone doesn't support off-the-shelf charging, so there'd have to be some sort of a mod to the drone
Mod to the
allow
drone.
charging.
So
yeah.
That's what Art will be in soon. He's making dinner. So
Okay. How are you making it? What are you making, Art?
yeah,
What are you going to be eating tonight? I'm just imagining one of those Uber Eats ads. Tonight, I'll be eating...
yeah, exactly.
Dot, 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 dot. Okay, so the next one we've got is Thales and H3 Dynamics. Now, I don't know that this is... Well, when I first saw this story, I thought it was going to be real-time tracking and traffic control on the road, having a look at road systems and working out how traffic control can be improved, but it's not. It's just yet another airspace management system and traffic control in low altitude airspace. Something we do need nonetheless.
Right. In Art's
This is
making
in
goulash.
Singapore.
That actually sounds good.
Yeah. Drone charging box, electronic resident Thales remote identification tracker under the management of the Thales UAS airspace management solution. So this is happening in Singapore. look, it's interesting, and I think all of this is where things will need to go. But as Ken quite regularly says, it's going to be a while before I get my tube socks delivered by drone.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, because they were showing on his show last night one of these things, and the little box they were carrying looked like a Chicken McNugget Happy Meal. So I'm thinking, how warm are the McDonald's hamburgers or the Chicken McNuggets actually going to be if they're flown through the air and all that wind blowing? Yeah, who wants to eat crap like that? That's
If you assume that your nuggets are hot when they leave, and it's got let's say a balloon in a balloon, just to keep it simple, you've got that air bubble.
Right.
It's going to thermally isolate it from the wind. The wind is not going to have an effect. It's not really a balloon in a balloon. It's some other container in a container.
Oh.
It's possible. You can thermally isolate if it's a 5-minute trip.
We have to go with the assumption that you mentioned first. We assume that they're hot. I can get them from the drive-through and grab the sack, set on my chair, reach in there, and they're already cold. So, that's the assumption we have to make about McDonald's.
They've changed it in Australia. We have Macca's, not McDonald's, and Macca's is actually hotter now. They've done something in their production systems to make it hotter. Don't know how or why, but it is.
Really? Okay.
Okay, what have we got next? Helicopter drone strike in Chile. I think this was on Ken's show yesterday. I wasn't watching the entire thing, but watching intermittently. Let's make that a little bit bigger. The windscreen on those would be stronger, someone says from Twitter. Yesterday, a Chilean military helicopter hit a drone whilst operating. The pilot was injured and hospitalized, but later released.
Well, I heard that in one of they were showing it was they said one of the passengers, people saying the passenger. Well, when you look at the way the helicopter is configured, the pilot is generally on the right-hand side. And the passenger rides on the left. It depends on which helicopter they're flying. Some have it the other way, but generally they fly. Some of the small ones. Either way, that drone. People say, everybody wants to say, the drone couldn't do that. Yeah, it could. If a bird can come through a windscreen, so can a drone very easily. So,
yeah. Look, this is just a quick highlight. There's probably other articles that talk about it in more detail and have some better pictures. So I might leave that one there because I don't have much on that website. What's next in the list? Here's an interesting discussion topic, and I'll just get rid of the advertising there. Good evening, Phil. Oh, Mr. Koshat. I don't have the sound effect, but maybe you do, Lloyd.
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I just looked down to do that, and my sound machine is still packed from when I took Judy up to the hospital, or when Judy was in the hospital. I haven't unpacked. I just happened to look up, because I haven't sat in here to do anything since she had the stroke. It's like, so the best I can do is go.
Mr. Koshat.
Hey, this isn't a fully produced show tonight, so I don't have the famous fart machine.
So our next topic, and again, I'd love to hear from audience members. Why did the FAA go with broadcast remote ID for drones instead of doing network? Interesting question, and that was close enough. Thank you for the vote of confidence in Lloyd's human sound effects.
Yeah. Well, if I was a little more prepared, it would have been a little more realistic, but,
Yeah.
No beans tonight.
Yeah. In March of 2020, The commenting period on the NPRM on remote ID closed with over 52,000 comments, hotly debated, and the biggest question is network or broadcast. The cost and potential privacy issues and the challenges of coming up with a network signal was too steep. So basically, that's why they've done what they've done. And it's interesting when you think about what DJI has already done. They've got their own remote ID solution where they're already broadcasting signals from their drone. They're already doing that today. It's maybe not yet to the specification that the FAA is asking for, but they already do have a broadcast type system in their existing product line. So the question is, will the FAA actually look at what DJI is already doing with their existing product line and allow those to have a legacy grandfather acceptance of compliance with the existing solution that they've got there? That's the question that I guess is in my mind. Yeah, Joe Blaylock, smash the like. Please do, everyone. What do you think, Lloyd? Should they grandfather the existing DJI in?
Well, yeah, I honestly think they should, because, you know, either that or somebody's got to come up with an add-on module. I listened to that whole discussion 2 weeks ago that they were all talking about. I think it was on Ken's show. They were talking about the different ways they're going to do it. And, you know, if we got something like DJI is already using a system like that, they should, like you said, grandfather it in, because one, I'm not going to buy a new drone, you know, and I can't see where I'm sort of like, I'm of the attitude that it's like, you know, everybody's going green and they want you to go electric, and, you know, the government and whoever wants everybody to drive electric cars, and hey, I'm all for it. As soon as you pay for it and you deliver it to my driveway, I'll drive that doggone thing until the wheels rot off. But I'm not replacing my cars that are already paid for, and I damn sure ain't financing something. So the government wants all this crap. They need to start providing some of it, you know. That's my opinion.
I agree with that in principle, but then they say, well, in the case of cars, we've got license and registration fees, and for drones, we don't have that. So they would then cover the cost of that compliance by increasing your licensing fees and registration. You know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, in here, the license and registration fees are only, you know, we pay for our tags every year, and that's state money. That only goes to the state. It doesn't go to the federal government, but the federal government wants all this happy, joy stuff. That's like us all sit around, sing Kumbaya and hold hands, and we'll have remote ID, and we'll have electric cars, and, you know,
I know.
They want us to do all that crap.
The reason why it still
They
applies,
need to pay
though,
for
is
it.
because the state regulates what's happening with cars at state levels. It's regulated at that level. If the state, you know what I'm saying? That's why the money would go to the state for registration. If we're talking and going back to drones, if they do this, well, the state doesn't regulate any of it. It's all federally regulated, which is why they would then put the fees up for drone registration to cover the cost of that retrofit, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. They're not going to do it, you know. I mean, they're going to come, they're not going to, I think they should retrofit. Getting back to the original question, I think we've got the software there, you know, and the hardware, obviously, because, I mean, you think about it. They were so worried about DJI sending all that information back to China. If they can send it to China, they obviously can send it to the FAA in your local FAA. I mean, how hard is that to figure out? You know, either that or the sending stuff to China was a crock of crap.
It wasn't. The original sending stuff to China did happen.
Exactly.
And I got the videos to prove it. Anyway.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. If they can send it to China, even from Australia, well, then they can send it to your local FAA receiving center for wherever they're going to house. And that's another whole mess they're going to have to figure out is actually what they're saying on the outset, all these rules are going to set in. Yeah, Philip says, just a redirect. Yeah, that's all I got to do. You know.
Yeah. The thing is, though, it's already been killed. The network data has already been killed, right? So that's not part of the final solution the FAA has come out with. They're going to do broadcast only. But again, the broadcast data that DJI is sending is not necessarily compliant with what is going to be in the final standard.
Right.
My hope is that they do grandfather in that as a compliant solution.
Yeah.
Or DJI does provide a software retrofit for everything. I don't know how far you want to go back. I'd say the original Mavics and let's say the Phantom 4 and onwards. That kind of generation.
I'd go back to the Phantom 3 because there's still a lot of people flying the Phantom 3 Pros out there.
I don't think they will, and the reason for that is that the Phantom 3 series, they're not doing anything software-wise for that. They've lost all their developers for that, and it's a completely different platform. So probably not going to happen. G'day, Mr. Hope, and hello, old man New Tricks. Who else have we got? Let's have a quick little peek.
We got Joe Blaylock and Art Cole, I'm looking. No, he's not here yet.
I'm sure he'll pop in at some point.
Yeah. Let me put that link up there for those people that would love to come in here and tell me where everything I say is wrong.
Well, then if you said something by putting that link up there, no one's going to come in because you were wrong to put the link up there.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been married long enough that I'm used to everything I say being wrong.
Of course. It's all about the Swambo factor, isn't it?
No, okay. Mike, I'm not talking to you. You just happened to pop in as I said that.
Have a look at this little tiny one. And this story is about, can the US military kill a drone swarm in battle? So they're having a look at ways to use AI to quickly identify and take out drone swarms. It's an interesting and difficult one to actually solve for. Industry has been focusing on counter-drone operations in large measure because drone swarms a host of complexities. Should an entire swarm of interconnected mini-drone explosives be approaching, how might hundreds of them be stopped, destroyed, or rendered inoperable? What about the remaining one if you get all of them bar one?
If you use the right kind of shot in your shotguns, you'll get them all.
Possibly, depending on how quickly they're approaching and from which directions, and do you have enough shotguns to defend against the quantity of them.
Every time I think of this, they say drone swarms, and I watch the video. I think didn't you have it on here last week about they were monitoring the bees and then trying to well, anyways, every time they talk about these drone swarms and counter insurgents for it, counteract them, I'm thinking of like one of those cartoons that, let me put this back, one of those cartoons with a big giant fly swatter on a mechanical arm. It's where my mind goes.
That works.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to Lara Croft Tomb Raider after you did that, and I'm just imagining her go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Getting that last one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
old man
Nutrix says rat shot. Yeah, that would do it. That would do it.
How would you, all things considered, how would you do it? So obviously these little things are going to be talking to each other. So that's point number one.
You either take out the lead control one, if
the
you can
RF,
find it.
So the existing RF jammers that are around, you've got to find out what frequencies they're on, jam it, they won't be able to talk to each other anymore. Then they become individual threats instead of a swarm. But the problem is that the people
EMP.
yeah,
Just a focused EMP blast in that direction with, just some sort of, you hit them with that, they're going to fall out of the sky, if they have a way to focus an EMP like that.
But again, the comment that was in the article about the potential of having a small explosives on each one of them and having them falling out of the sky might not be so good either.
Well, what did they want? I just came up with the basic idea. I can't think of everything.
Mike Miller's saying Wi-Fi jammer, yeah. If it's Wi-Fi. Yeah. The other question, if you're not going to destroy communications, they're still going to be talking to each other. What's the alternative? No matter what you do, if you try to...
Thank you, old man. Directional EMP, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. If you're trying to defensively attack them, if you're going to do something, you've got to make the explosives neutralized in the air so that whatever damage they have doesn't come down on the ground.
Yeah, and there again, you have to know what sort of detonation system they have on, because if it's an electronic system, proximity or something like that, the EMP would take it out because it'd short out the electrical system and render the explosives inert simply. But if it's percussion primed rather than electric primed or the chances of those little bitty things having percussion primes on them, no, it's probably all electronics. And you would, big net, Philip says. Yeah, I'm thinking big fly swatter, it's just, but yeah, it would kill all electronics on board. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And those things probably, if they have explosives, they've got electronically fused fly spray. That works too.
I was originally watching that and thinking the relationship between a swarm of bees and, how would you use a chemical agent? That's another possibility as well.
That's true.
Some sort of chemical agent.
A corrosive...
Yeah, but then you wait for the residue to hit the ground. There's a lot of... It's difficult. It's a difficult challenge.
You got to keep the environmentalists happy, I'm sure. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll test it over your house.
I don't care. I never go outside anyways. If it kills off all my grass, I don't have to mow it.
Yeah. What about high pressure water?
That could be. Or... one of the things they use to keep, water cannon, something like that. Or CO2, liquid nitrogen type cannons, something with spray it, freeze it.
I've got it.
What?
Expanding foam.
There you go. Expanding.
Basically, coat them in expanding foam and they turn into a big Nerf ball when they hit the ground.
Yeah.
The props won't move anymore.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one I've got up here. Sorry.
They say that it's environmentally unsafe to use that foam. So, nobody's going to be happy. So I say, let's just let them fall on the environmentalists and they can go pick them up and decide what to do with them.
There is that.
Just saying.
Just confirming while we're here, anyone in the background?
No, not yet. I'm still waiting somebody to rescue me here, or to rescue
guys,
you.
Lloyd, well, I'm doing all right. Lloyd, on the other hand, he can't hang on forever. He's probably busting for a nana nap sooner or later.
Yeah, probably. Let me turn this up just a minute, make sure. Yeah.
So just really briefly,
just
this is
checking on Judy. I've got a new camera system coming in that I just ordered, and it will allow us to. We'll be able to talk back and forth. I can monitor, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So this is something that I came across in the drone news field, and I have no idea why the search engine found it, because it's not related to drones, but this is way cool and I just wanted to show it anyway. The idea of a transparent watch case replacement, replace your existing case, and
Cool.
yeah, it's just really cool.
That would be. I wonder if it'd work on a Generation 3. I wonder if you could get that for Generation 3. That would be cool.
So this is on Hackaday.
Okay.
Useless Mod is the name of the channel. Let's see, here we go. So there's their YouTube channel. Please do go and check them out. But let's have a quick, it's a long video, so I'm just going to scrub through, and they go through how to pull it apart, and obviously
Okay.
he's providing the actual new case.
Yeah, it's making me look. I got to look at mine and see if it's modifiable.
Like I said, not drone news, but
No, but
cool story.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where the screws are at on mine. So
Have you got a few screws loose, Lloyd?
I do. Yeah, I have had
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing was though, the other day Judy dropped something on the floor, and I had to go pick it up, and I got down under the bed, and I finally found my lost marbles.
Okay, that's good. Now, we've got a story here where Forbes is not allowing me to go and have a look at because I've got an ad blocker. Well, too bad. We'll skip that story.
Yeah. Was that the shape-shifting Pegasus drone?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, let's see here.
Flying drones safely in densely populated Singapore. Enthusiasts will soon be able to fly unmanned aircraft in designated public areas in Singapore. They accepted a proposal. So previously, Singapore drone flight was... So this is only a quick little story. I don't know that didn't know it was only that short. And again, this one isn't drone related, but it's something a little amusing. There was a rock formation that looks like a Cookie Monster. These could fetch $10,000 each. Again, I have no idea why it came into the drone news feed,
Well,
but they're cute.
That is cool, but I'm thinking, what idiot's going to pay $10,000 for two Cookie Monster rocks?
Oh, I think that's $10,000 each.
Oh, 10,000, 20,000. Well, there you go.
They're going to slice it up and sell it for $10,000 a slice.
I'm sure I can. I'm sure I can have one of my granddaughters cook some of their cookies, and they'd be just like those Cookie Monster rocks.
Okay.
Come on, guys. I'm running out of my jokes are bad always, and they're getting worse real quick. So somebody needs to come in.
Speaking of which, I'll just share a quick little side story. You were talking about you having potluck or something earlier. What was it
Pot
we were talking about
pies.
before? Pot pies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lloyd, you really shouldn't use green substances in your pies.
Why do you think I'm needing a nap now?
That probably explains it all.
Yeah, that explains a lot right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got 10 minutes left. We've finished for today with all of the items that I had planned to cover. Again, it's not produced. It's just looking at them randomly through the website. The rest is up to you guys all. If people want to not come on screen, but they want to instead go into Discord, we can do that. And the Discord feed, the audio is going to come live to air. So if you want to go to the voice channel right now, I've just connected to General. If you jump in there, you'll be able to come in and say hello. We'd love to hear your comments, questions, or whatever. The other thing, just before we go, So last week I mentioned that John Morrison is speaking at a Australian Association of Unmanned Systems in the near future. The topic is EVLOS challenges and rewards. I think roughly paraphrasing the title. How many people watching today know what EVLOS is? Everyone's heard of BVLOS, but how many people know what EVLOS is?
I don't.
You familiar with that term?
No.
Curious if those in the chat room have heard of that one before. It's something that certainly is available in Australia to commercial operators. If you can imagine, it's the same as BVLOS, but with a communications link. So specifically radio link between the pilot needs to be in communication with someone else who's got their eyes on the drone.
Oh, okay.
So extended visual line of sight. So
Okay.
in Australia, we have permission to do that. And you could think of this as having a spotter. So someone who wanted to do FPV flying for a start, they can do that as long as they've got a spotter that's in communication using EVLOS, or they could fly further as long as they've got every X amount of meters, whatever X is, so that they can have continued visual line of sight and a confirmed and available radio link back to the pilot.
Mel and I actually did something when he was, I can't remember, it was I think it was the Mavic, the Mavic 2 that came out. Was it the Zoom or the other one? Anyways, the Mavic 2 Pro, I think he was trying out. And they were talking about the 5-mile extended range and stuff. Well, he was flying it, but he wanted to make sure that, because we didn't figure the batteries would last long enough, so if he had to take it down. So I was in the truck and I was driving the back roads and he was flying along in front of me. I was watching it from the truck, and I had him on speakerphone in the cell phone, and we were talking back and forth. Extended visual line of flight, or line of sight, and I'd come up to crossroads. I said, "Oh, you got to stop here. There's a car coming." And so he'd stop, and then I'd drive. Once they passed, I'd drive across the road, and he'd fly. He was flying over parallel to me, about I don't know, 300 yards from me or so. And I was, he'd come down a little low, and I said, "Okay, you're getting close to power line." That's the kind of stuff that these guys flying that try to get those distance, they can't see a lot of that stuff. And that's why having an observer, a forward observer on that, is...
Yeah.
So I can see that'd be cool. Why he's...
Well, the reason why he's speaking on it is because he's one of the first people to officially get approved for that, so he can fly EVLOS legally.
Oh,
you needed
okay.
approval from CASA.
Okay, cool.
So Philip's doing good, just happy to be off for the weekend. Off like a bad... Sorry, did I say that out loud, Mr. Koshat? Q? I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
I've got another quick story that I'm looking through Discord, and this one was shared to us by Call Me Dash, one of our regulars. How to run alternative batteries on the DJI Mavic Mini.
Oh, I saw that pop up. I didn't read it.
So if you can have a look in there, I don't know if my mouse pointer's not on the screen, but just to the left of that circuit board, you've got one cell in there, and there's another cell parallel to that. Then that board goes on the back of both of them.
Yeah.
There's a dead short at the other end to complete the in-series circuit, plus there's a connection for balance charging in the middle. Right. And that little red bar is something to prevent it from accidentally popping out of the chassis. But I watched this video, and it was very interesting, and some good maker creative engineering to go and put together that solution. Very, very nice.
Yeah. And that popped up on
Discord.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't joined his Discord, there's a lot of interesting stuff that the guys put up during the week on that Discord. Oh, here we go. Look what we got.
Yeah.
Now that the show's almost over, you finally show up.
Well, I came in to save this sinking ship, so I thought I'd help out.
So thanks for joining, and that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for watching Oz by Drone.
Well, I got to explain why I was late. I went to Grease Monkey, took my car to Grease Monkey to put some gender fluid in the tranny.
Oh, God. At least he does it on your show, too. It's not just my show they saves those jokes for. You're getting back into you're getting back into the comedy thing, aren't you? You're planning on that's what you're going to do in your retirement is go back to stand-up comedy?
Well,
Something like that.
I listen to talk radio all day, and I get all these great ideas. I go, gender fluid.
Yeah.
Grease Monkey.
Gender fluidity.
Brandy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else you been up to, Art?
I've just been working a ton of overtime. Just haven't. I upgraded my computer. I can finally use vMix. So tomorrow, Artco will be. I'll be using vMix for Artco tomorrow night. So.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of vMix, Wirecast has upgraded this week. There's a new version of Wirecast available. I haven't done anything with that yet because officially they won't let me upgrade anymore, even if I pay them money. They don't want me to use it. So thank you to the team at Wirecast.
Well, when I was getting ready for the show tonight, I saw that vMix has an upgrade, so.
Oh, well.
Okay.
So we'll have to compare notes. I didn't upgrade because I didn't have time. It'd be my luck of one time that vMix would do an upgrade and it would break the system while I was trying to get on the show. So, yeah.
By the way, here's an interesting question for you to pose to the vMix crowd. There are some people who use Intel Macintosh computers running Windows under what's called boot camp. It's like a bootloader selection where you can choose which one to boot. And you can boot into native Windows, and then it's just an Intel computer. So the question is, vMix currently works under boot camp, but the new generation of Apple Macs are using their new M1 chip, which is not running an Intel CPU. So the question is, will they have a solution for that? What is vMix going to do? Because already they don't provide Mac versions. Okay, that's their choice. But now they're going to get rid of Windows people who have Mac hardware. If they don't do something, that's going to be a loss of market for them.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I'm sure that, so they don't have a boot camp of any sort that would work on a Mac system, on the new whatever it is. So
the boot camp is something that runs Windows natively. It's Intel. It's not an Intel CPU.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so, yeah.
I'm just going to do a quick little Google for boot camp on M1, and as I click there.
Yeah, it's probably not going to work because
it's doubtful that the x86 Windows will ever run native on the ARM-based M1 setups. Microsoft only sells their ARM-based Windows OEM, so you can't just buy it as an end customer. Parallels, which is a virtualization company, say they will support Windows in virtual machines, but you can't really run video under virtual machines. It's just too much grunt.
Too much
required.
CPU usage,
Yeah. So I think potentially they're going to lose.
Boot camp makes you fit. It did me.
Absolutely. Art, have you got one more for us before we pack up and send everyone over to Ready, Set,
Kelly's
Drone?
show.
Well, I had a rough morning.
How rough was it?
I took some Imodium AD mint flavored. Now I can fart with confidence.
Art, you've told that one before.
Oh, you remember that? You might have new people in your chat. All 15 of them.
That was low, Art.
Even for you.
Oh, shots have been fired.
Hey, we saw your baby picture last night. You look a
Did you
lot
like
like
it?
Winston Churchill.
I don't know what to say to that. Is that good or bad?
Well, you ought to be honored. I mean, former Prime Minister.
Prime Minister?
Well, you
Yeah.
know, the Great
Oh,
Britain.
not
and
of
of England.
Okay, I'm thinking
Winston
Australia.
Churchill.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, other countries have prime ministers too.
Well, I mean, at the time, Australia was part of the whole
Commonwealth.
shebang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, at this point, I think it's time to shut down the stream. It's been fun having our viewers watching today. Hi Geeks Vana, Philip,
All
Old Man
15.
Utrix, Mike Miller. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Where is it? Who else have we got? Participants. Geeks Vana, Joe Blaylock, Mike Miller, Old Man Utrix, Philip Koshat, Yowie P51, Zeb Meat, and other people who haven't said anything. Thanks for being part of it. Next week, we're going back to the regular format.
Awesome.
I've invited someone to be a guest, so that should be fun. I won't say who yet because I just want to reconfirm it. I did that invite a few weeks ago.
Right.
John will be back. And yeah, that's all I've got to say for today. Last words from both of you for today.
Well,
You go ahead, Art.
well, thanks for bringing me in. Sorry I'm late. I've been working a lot of overtime and been catching your show, late while I'm eating dinner. And but your show is doing great as always. Keep up the good work, and we'll catch you next week. Lloyd, take it away.
Yeah, I want to, it's always fun being here, and I'm glad to be back. I'm going to be hit and miss on stuff for a while. Judy was resting good this evening, so even on my channel, it's like I did a live stream yesterday as I was driving because I'm just, this stroke thing, caught both her and I off guard, and it's really, it's just little things, and that makes me stop and have to kind of reassess some of what I'm doing, and I'm going to have, my time's going to be hit and miss, but she is doing a lot better, and I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers from everybody, all the kind comments, and remember what I say, folks, be kind, treat each other better than you would treat yourselves. Remember, we all matter, and take it from there, Greg.
Okay. Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, Art. Thanks for everyone who's been in today. And my wife will be back sitting in this chair next week. She's enjoyed her holidays. And I'll be back there somewhere.
Slacking.
Yeah, she's got to get back to work. Everyone, do me a favor. Go over to Ready, Set, Drone. Tell them that Greg sent you. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Full screen.